guess like go to a very familiar scripture that seems to be the theme of this wonderful, wonderful day, and I believe it's the theme that one of the themes that should be for our entire lives. The scripture is in 1 Peter, 1 Peter chapter 2. And I think it's very important to really, recognize and realize and remember who actually wrote this particular letter. Right? It was a gentleman by the name of Peter. Peter is a very interesting individual. For some odd reason, God chose him to be one of the 12. Quite frankly, I don't blame him, because Peter was crazy. I feel like you always need somebody crazy on your team. At least one, right? At least one. You know what I'm saying? At least one. Like this is the Peter that he said, why do you have little faith, Peter? This is the Peter that had the short temper, Peter. This is the Peter that cusses out little girls and says that, no, I don't know this man named Jesus, Peter. Right? This is the Peter that if you say something too quick, move too fast, he will cut your ear off. Like for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that an ear to cut off is a very interesting part of the body to pick. I feel like you have to be an accurate precision expert to really cut someone's ear off in the dark. I begin to run through that cycle in my mind, like as someone is trying to, grab Jesus, the first thing that he came in his mind was ear, and he cut it off. Like it's amazing to me, this is also the Peter that Jesus said in Matthew 16. It says, "On my rock I will build my church." This is also the same Peter that was redeemed. This is also the same crazy Peter that was with Jesus for 3 years, and it changed his entire life. Now I've come to realize it doesn't necessarily matter where you start, it's more so more how you finish. And so like we're here. I just wanted to give like a brief introduction of the guy who wrote this letter to these particular group of people. And it reads something like this. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 through 10. It says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of the darkness into the wonderful light. Once you were not a people." Another translation says, "Once you had no identity. But now you are people of God. Once you had received no mercy, but now have received mercy." May the God bless the reading and the hearing of his word. I've come to realize that there's power in identity. Peter, he sent this letter to a group of Christians, newly Christians, who were in Asia Minor at that time, which is now considered like Turkey. And so Peter wrote this letter to remind them, because they were experiencing some hostility, some harassment from other leaders in the government. He wanted to encourage them to, in the midst of their suffering, remember whose you are, and remember what you are. So it's interesting because you would think that I can imagine, like at this particular time, the kind of hostility and persecution that was going on in these families, like these Christians, newly Christians, their families were being split apart just because they said they believed in Jesus. Right. Their families were being spit on. People were being beaten. People were being tortured just because they said that they believed in Jesus. Just when you think that Christianity, being a believer in Jesus, makes life easier. You know, I mean, I would love to just be completely open with everyone here, because I can't help but think or imagine that I am the only one that, because of the persecution and because of everything that I've been going through and everything that has happened to me in my life, all the trials, all the negativity, all the rejection, all the hurt, all the pain, I can't help but think to myself sometimes, is this Jesus character really worth it? You know, because there are times where I'll give you an example. And a mentor of mine, he told me, he said, bro, we had a youth group one day, and he said that we got a lot of kids came out, and this one kid, she got saved. It was so amazing. And she went home, and she was so excited. She was crying and everything like that. And she was so excited she got saved. The next day, she came back with bags in her hand. And they said, hey, what's going on? Where are you going? You going with somebody? He said, no. My parents kicked me out because I told them that I believed in Jesus. Listen, at least I had a home to go to before I started believing in you. You see what I'm saying? So we get to this point where they're living in a place where it's designed to kill your self-esteem. No, apparently self-esteem is a very important thing. You know, I read in an article about Psychology Today, and it says something like how self-esteem is very precious and powerful to the psychological resource. You know, it can help you enhance your relationships, your satisfaction, and your achievement. You know, what's interesting about this self-esteem is that, unfortunately, we live in a time where self-esteem seems to be difficult to build, but it's also easy to tear down. You know, and here's the flip side of this self-esteem on how it's difficult to be built, but easily broken. We've always lived in a world where it's easy to conform to what they're doing. You know, one of the reasons for a lot of people where they're trying to find who they are in other people is the fact they're looking to find who they are in other people from the people who are looking to other people to find out who they are. Try to say that 10 times. Fast. You know, we live in a world where everything and everybody is accessible in the palm of our hand. You know, people are no longer looking to the phone, to the home, to the family, to the church, to the word for self-identity and worth. The same core values that are crucial for flourishing the human soul. At the same time that we looked at from the family, we now scale our self-worth, our self-esteem by numbers and by hearts. You know, it's very interesting about this word self-esteem. It's because we've changed the context of what it means and where it comes from. Is the fact that when the last time I checked, self-esteem came from self. You know, I feel like that is the key word in the word self-esteem. It's actually the first word in self-esteem. You know, I don't think that's on accident. I think that's on purpose. You know, but what I come to realize is that in a day and age where people can scroll through social media and live through somebody else's life and get distracted and wonder what they're not doing to get what they have and get jealous of the things that they see because their life looks amazing on Instagram, but they forget that they took 17 pictures to get it right. And so we take these pictures, we post these blogs, we share this news, we dye our hair, we change the way that our body looks, we wear the clothes that we wear, we put the makeup that we have on, we have surgeries to our bodies, and if we're completely honest, we don't do it for self. You know, we've actually changed the context of the word self-esteem, and it has now become them-esteem. You know, and so like we're here, we're trying we're living in a place where self-esteem is not self-esteem anymore because we're living to please other people. We're living to get as many friends as possible. You know, it's interesting. We played a game not too long ago, and it said one of the questions was, what was it? Who would you rather be loved by, or God, or your friends and your family? And I would like to say the majority of the room, I would say about 97%, said God. But then the three that chose family and friends, I would like to also suggest that they may have been the most honest. We can't, you know, I don't blame anybody for that. You know, because at the same time, what we all desire to do, what we all desire to be, is accepted. You know, and so like what I've learned about this acceptance thing is that acceptance sometimes comes with a price. Amen. You know, we're always, we have these esteems and self-esteem that we've created, and I believe that what self-esteem what them-esteem creates is a society of mass people claiming to be real. You know, and when it comes to this mass people claiming to be real, what that means is that you're some way in front of somebody else, and you're different when you go home. You know, I think that we're all guilty of it, give or take. You know, we have friends, you know, that we act tough in front of. But no, we can never, or have never, thrown a punch or touched a gun in our entire life. You know, no. We talk a good talk when it comes to how sexually active we are and how sexually experienced we are, knowing darn well you're over here trying to live for Jesus. But we're doing this thing, we say these things so that people will accept us. You know, I'll give you another one. Listen, we show everyone an amazing picture of our families. But when the photographer leaves, the flash is over. The backdrop is gone. The door is now closed. And we look at the picture that we just took, and we don't even know who those people are. You know, we say that our marriages are awesome. We put smiles and we hug and we hold hands in front of people. But when we go home, this them-esteem, this mask that we put on to please others is something that I believe that we all are guilty of. You know, but then I begin to, I begin to ask the question again. If we played that game and asked the question one more time, I wonder what difference would be on that tally. What difference would be on that voting when it comes to, do we please God or are we living to please other people? You know, because at the end of the day, everybody's a real one. You know, everybody claims to be real. Let me ask you a question. How many real ones do we have in the room right now? By the raise of hands. Please, don't be afraid. Just raise your hand if you're a real one. There's a lot of conviction going on in the room. It's crazy because the people who raise their hands, that's actually something a fake person would say. Just kidding. But let's just be honest. When it comes to this whole acceptance and fear of rejection kind of thing, you know, we tend to paint a picture or give someone a version that we think they would like versus the version that God gave us. You know, and the powerful thing about being accepted is that I found that it comes with two things. You know, when you're accepted, when you feel that acceptance, it actually comes with access and authority. You know, the tricky thing about it is that when I don't know who I'm accepted by, I don't know who I have access to, which in turn tells me I don't also know what authority I have. You know, these things were, when I didn't know these things, it was difficult for me to find and accept who I really am and who God truly made me to be. You know, Peter writes this letter to a bunch of exiles that I believe that we all can relate to, because if we can be quite honest, continually throughout this entire experience that we had with each other, we are exiles. We experience some hardships when it comes to people. You know, the people out of the church doesn't really get a good rep. You know, Christians, you know, it's interesting. I think I heard a quote, or someone told me that Gandhi said something like, listen, I don't have anything wrong with your Christ, but the problem is that the people who serve him don't act like Christ. Go ahead. You know, and so I'm looking at this passage where we're in 1 Peter, and it says, but you are a chosen people. When I look at this, it says, but you are a chosen people. It insinuates that there's someone else other than the but. You know, and I feel like the way that it is put in the text is like, if I am, if you are, if we are a chosen people, if we are a special possession, if we are a masterpiece, then I don't know if we're royalty. I just can't help but think of what the other people are, and the only word that I happen to come across is, if we're royalty, the other people who are the others, they must be the basic people. You know, basic people, they tend to make basic decisions. You know, they make basic decisions with basic, limited results. You know, basic people, they may go through some challenges, but I feel like when you're on another level, when you're royalty, when you're a holy nation, when you're a special people, it's a different kind of challenge. So what's going on here is just, listen, Peter's telling, hey guys, I know times are a little rough. And I know you're experiencing some hardship. People are making fun of you. People are spitting on you. People are doing things to you that you would think that shouldn't happen to you. But listen, I need you to remember that when it comes to people who have a higher calling, there are greater challenges. Look, I found it easier it's easier, I guess you could say, to fit in. It's easier to do things the way that everybody else is doing. You know, but every time we try to do things like everybody else, the more drowning of ourselves we actually do. So at the end of the day, we end up doing more hurt than we do good. You know, and so let me give you an example, a story of my life. Mom, cover your ears. The first time I was introduced to weed, cannabis, marijuana, Mary Jane. Yeah, the first time it was, this is so awkward, I'm gonna get an earful. You did that, really? Yeah, I did. So check this out, right? So this is crazy. Like going in high school, right? I had a friend. Me and my friend, his name was Walt. Me and Walt, that was my guy. We had similar interests. We both came from church. We both went to or were a part of amazing ministries. You know, we both liked basketball. He was actually the one who turned me on to the N1 mixtape and the brand. You know, he was the guy who introduced me. I said, whoa, what is N1 mixtape? And I can tell that he watched it a lot because his handles were amazing. I actually looked up to Walt when it came to being a basketball player. So we would work out together and we would go to the gym together and we would lift together. And so like there were a point in time at the school day. It's called lunchtime. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with lunchtime. You know, at our lunchtime, we had the ability to go off campus and go get food at different stores. You know, and it was at this very point, lunchtime was used for students to go into the back of the building and roll up and get high right before they go back into the school. You know, it was very interesting because one of the benefits of getting high right before we went back into school was the fact we always watched the movie. You know, so it was amazing. The lights were out. It was like an amazing time. You know, and so what was interesting? Let me share with you how I got to this point. Is because I was known not to do drugs. It was me, Walt, it was a guy named Jake, and a guy named Chad, and another gentleman named Miles. Miles was the teenage drug addict, as you say. He knew a lot about everything. You know, Xannies, G-ladies, listen, names that I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even want a G-lady. I feel like that I won't wake up ever. And so so he's like, yo, so we're in the back of the building, and I'm always the guy on the side. And people, they're like, oh, yo, Keith, you come to, I'm like, nah, man, I'm good, bro. Like, y'all go ahead and do your thing. I'm this kid over here and kick some rocks. And, it was actually like rocks. I was like there, I looked like an idiot by myself. You know, and this went on for about a month. Every day. We would go to the back of the school every day. They would get high, they would go into the room, and they would watch the movie. And then there was this one particular day, I came home from school, and I don't know what happened, I forget what happened, I got in trouble, and my parents took my cell phone. Now listen, when you take away someone's cell phone, you might as well just kill me right now. You know, it's just like, listen, take away the video game, take away the television, don't take away the cell phone. Okay, it's not the way, like, it's not what you do. So in my mind, I'm just, like, I'm crying. I am so upset. My cell phone is gone. No Wi-Fi. And so like I'm on, and this is like, I love the cell phones that we had back then. Like you can like record like a song, and you can make it your ringtone. Like that was clutch. Like that was the most amazing thing ever. So when my girl called, I had like, my boo, like that was my favorite. Like, you know what I'm saying? So so I couldn't hear that ringtone at night. I was so upset, so mad. Why did they have to do this to me? Whatever did I do to deserve this? You know, and so in that moment, I was so upset. I prayed about it. And I said, you know what? I'm smoking weed tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day. It's happening. Listen, let me tell you how real this was, okay? This is like, I remember like it was yesterday. I got up, excited. I was ready to go. I ate breakfast. I never ate breakfast. And I go to school. I'm looking at the clock. I can't stop looking at the clock. Because lunchtime's at 12. It's 8:45. No, this is real life. I can't make this up. I promise. I 12 o'clock comes around, right? And I know that people, they know that Keith don't smoke weed. This is not what you do, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, but I said that I made the decision. This is what I'm going to do today. You know, so I get up, we go to lunch, we eat lunch, went to the pizza spot, I ordered 2 pizzas. I'm feeling real ambitious, real different this morning. You know, so we go to the back of the school, right, you know what I'm saying, I play cool, I didn't know what was about to happen. You know, I pull up, I'm walking different. I'm walking different. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaning a little bit differently. You know what I mean? So they roll up, they spark up. Miles hits the J. Bang. So I'm just I'm far, but I'm not too far off. I'm just waiting for the look, someone to look at me. That's the green light for me to go. You don't even gotta say you want anything. Just look at me. And I'm over there. Right? And so I go, and so Miles. He was always the one that was trying to like, oh, come on, Keith, you know what I'm saying? Like, no. He's always that guy. So Walt hits it first, then Jake, then Chad, then Miles. I was counting on Miles. So Miles, right? Miles, he goes like this and he looks at me. I made my move. Slowly but surely, made my move. And Miles goes, yo, you down? I'm just like, come on, bro, chill, dog. Just let me. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, yo, so Walt, he's like, really, bro? You know what I'm saying? And what's interesting is that when Walt said really, it was a shock to him because he knew who I was and what I was not. You know, so I decided to hit the J that day. Never felt the same afterwards. You know, but I realized about this being exiled and about fitting in. And I realized that just because you may fit in, it doesn't mean that you fit. You know, and so I'm learning, and I'm reading, and Peter is expressing that, hey, guys, listen, remember whose you are. Remember what you are. And don't try to fit. Because if you fit, the calling on your life could be compromised. Listen, I found this idea or this word in the Bible, and in these notes of the commentaries, and the word it said it's called the incarnation. And it talks about the incarnation of Jesus, right? And what the incarnation is God in flesh. The word carn, that's the Latin word for flesh. You got carnal, fleshly person. You got carnivorous, someone who eats meat, who eats flesh. But what the incarnation of Jesus is, it's God in the body of a human. Right? And then I began to look at, the where it says in 1 Corinthians 6, it says that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And I began to think about the indwelling of the Holy Spirit and what that means. And essentially what it means is God in the body of a human. Listen, I don't know, I'm getting chills and I'm shaking thinking about it, because when I realized that there was a God in my body, certain things that I thought were heavy, they don't seem to be heavy anymore. Certain things that I thought were hard doesn't seem hard anymore. Certain things that I thought were in the way, they're not in the way anymore. Because the person, God, in my body gives me access to the power that he has in himself. When we accept Jesus into our lives and he begins to have a dwelling place in our souls and in our bodies, we have access to his creativity. We have access to his intelligence. We have access to his power. We have access to his love. We have access to his endurance. We have access to the vision that other people can't seem to see, but since we have a glimpse of God inside of us, we can see his thoughts and see how far that we can really go. We have an access to a place where people, the basic people, the people that we once were, we have access to an abundance of life. I realize that when it comes to this, what we have access to, we also have authority to speak to things with such passion, with such power that they have no choice but to move. It says that Peter reminds him, he says, hey, listen, you're God's special people. You're a special possession. Aunt Jack, she gave me this verse, and I believe it's on the shirt. It's Psalms 139. And this really did something for me, because sometimes I forget how detailed I am. It says in Psalms 139, 13 to 15, it says, for you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret. I don't know about you, but to me, that says something like it was, you were so creative and just a masterpiece and such, made with such detail that he made you so no one can see you yet. He didn't want anybody to look. You know, he says that intrinsically woven in the depths of the earth. Listen, I've come to the conclusion, you know, and I've realized, and I'm kind of like sick and tired, is because people, what we tend to do is we either don't believe or we tend to forget the process of what this whole verse, what this whole section really means. You know, I did a little bit of research and I found out that there are 7.5 billion people in the world. 7.5, right? 7.5. And one out of the 7.5, there's only one that looks like you. There's only one that thinks exactly how you think. There's only one who will do the thing that God puts you here to do. You know, and when I think about just the process of being the one, is that what I found out is when babies are born, when babies are made, there are 100 million sperms trying to get to the one egg. The fact that God chose, they're fighting, all the sperms are fighting to get to the one egg, and the fact that God stopped all the ones and chose this particular one. Chose this person right here, this sperm right here, and the fact that he said, oh, her name is going to be Diamond. You know, but listen, they don't know what Diamond's going to be able to do yet. They don't know what kind of impact that Diamond's going to be able to have. They don't know what kind of gifts Diamond's going to be able to have. So check this out. I'm going to make her in secret. Because in the proper time, I'll reveal my majesty through her. You know, I'm sick and tired of people thinking that they're less than. You know, because it said that I praise you, Lord, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. Here's the thing. I feel like we know it because people say it, but we don't really believe it. You feel me? I get it. Like it makes sense. Like, I mean, people, you know, they say like, oh, I'm a king. You know, I'm a queen. You know, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wakanda forever. You know, everything. It's amazing. You know, we say these things. They sound amazing. But it's interesting when we difference between knowing it and believing it, because when you know it and you believe it, you start to walk differently. You know, people can't treat you the same anymore. You know, we got to come to a point where we start teaching people how to treat us. You know, so when people start calling me names that don't apply to what God told me I was, they don't faze me because I don't understand what that word means. And it's very interesting that when it comes to knowing and fighting to believe it, you know, it's difficult to believe something when you don't see it. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I'm a king, I'm royalty, I'm a queen, I'm a prized possession. But how come I'm living like this? Last time I checked, royalty doesn't live like this. Royalty doesn't experience things like this. It even makes it more powerful that Peter wrote this letter is because they were in a place where Peter was telling them what they are, telling them who they belong to, but it didn't look like it. I have to be completely honest. It's cool to know and cool to say things like, "Oh, I'm awesome. I'm great. I'm strong. I'm mighty. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm happy." But every morning when I get up, how come I don't feel like I'm happy? How come I don't feel like I'm beautiful? How come I don't feel smart? How come I don't feel intelligent? There's nothing. The biggest tool that the enemy uses is ignorance. Ignorance of the word, he'll use that. Ignorance of what God says you are, he'll use that too. Ignorance of what God said you can do, he'll use that. Ignorance about how he loves you regardless of the things that you do. He'll use that as well. And so the question becomes, when we wake up in the morning and we look into the mirror, what runs through our mind about ourselves? Because there are times where I get up in the morning and I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like this person who is a chosen person. I don't feel like this person who is royal priesthood. I don't feel like this person who is wonderfully and fearfully made. And what that tends to do is that when we allow those thoughts to really meditate in our minds and really get to our soul, I believe in Proverbs 23 it says, "Whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So we have to really, really, really deep down and think about ourselves, and because what we say about ourselves and what we think about ourselves is ultimately what we're going to become. You tell yourself you're ugly, you're probably right. You tell yourself that you can't do something, you're probably right. You tell yourself that you'll never be able to, you're probably right. But it's only because you believed what you said and not what he said. It's interesting, like the enemy, or I can say like I don't even think sometimes that I don't even think it's always the enemy. Sometimes I think it's just us. I think that we tell ourselves that we can't. I think that we tell ourselves that we'll never. And that person will come out of nowhere in our thoughts. I was driving in the car the other day. Having an amazing day. Like, clicking on all cylinders. I felt like I was walking on streets of gold that day. I was gliding I was hovering over Broad Street as people were looking at me. Oh my God, he's flying. I am. It's true. Like this is what type of level I was on that day. Like people they can feel the energy, they can feel the love, they can feel God's majesty coming through me as I walk by. Like to the point where when I smile, people smile back. That's what kind of light I was living in that day. I get in the car. I'm like, yo, this is it. Like, what are we about to do next? Because last time I checked, greater is he that's in me than he that is in the world. So what's next, bro? And then all of a sudden, a thought came to my mind. He sat in the passenger seat. He said, you're actually about to do anything. You're not about to do anything. He said, actually, what you thought you were going to do, what you thought you were going to have, you're actually not going to. You're actually not that good. You're actually not that creative. There's someone out there that's better than you, someone out there that has more money than you, someone out there that has better connections than you. So therefore, what you wanted to do, you might just throw that out the window now. And I got, it hurt my heart. Like I'm sitting in the car, I got real sad. Like my shoulders drooped. You know what I'm saying? And so but then I had to shake myself out of it. I had to encourage myself. Because, you know, when you encourage yourself, when you have these thoughts, when your other self says to you that you can't, this is what it means when we're battling, not just against flesh and blood. You know what I'm saying? One of the things like we're battling against the principalities and things that we can't see. You know what I'm saying? We have to combat that with Scripture. We can't just say any old thing like, oh, yes, I can, that's cool, you can do it, but it only lasts for a little bit. Like, you have to say things like, I'm the head and not the tail. You know, I am above and not beneath. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more than a conqueror. Who are you talking to like that? I was like, he was sitting right next to me. Who are you talking to like that, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like people think I'm crazy. Like I'll be in the bathroom in the mirror and I'll be talking to myself on such an angry, such passionate type level that people, my brother, look, what are you doing, bro? It doesn't even matter right now, though. I'm talking to myself. I'm encouraging myself. You know what I'm saying? So because what really happens is the more we say things, the more we'll start to believe. You know, and Matthew 12 says, out of the depths of the heart, the mouth speaks. You know, and what I love about this kind of when we know that we are accepted, and how much access and how much authority it gives, we can speak things into existence. We can speak the things and they have no choice but to move. We can speak the things and they have no choice but to change. Listen, my bank account is not what I want it to be. It's not what I need it to be. We better just look at that number and say, I don't believe what's right here. I know that in due season, this number is going to have some zeros on it, and I'm going to be able to do the things and have the kind of impact that I know I want to have. Listen, we can speak the things, and oh my God, listen, look, have you guys ever heard of the rice experiment? Oh my God, listen, this blew my mind. Look, so there was an experiment, they had these rice bowls. They did it with plants too, right? They had these rice bowls, and they put rice on, they put like the clear saran wrap over top of it, and what they did was, over a period of time, you know, they had them in the same exact place. You know, they got the same sunlight, there was the same humidity, in the same exact place. At one of the bowls of rice, they began to speak such amazing and powerful things to the rice. Like, that's kind of weird. Who talks to rice? So we get that, oh my God, you're so white, you're so tasteful, you're so beautiful, you're so majestic, oh my gosh, look at you, you're so big and just so like beautiful. Like you begin to say certain things like that to the rice, and then on the other rice, they begin to speak negative things to the rice. They begin to say things like, you are the ugliest piece of rice, bowl of rice I've ever seen in my entire life. You will never taste good to anybody. Like, not with gravy, not with mixed vegetables, like nothing. You're actually worthless. You know, and over a course of time, they realized that there was two changes that happened to the rice. The rice that they spoke greatly to, the light that they poured life into, it was whiter than from when it started. the rice that they were speaking negatively to had mold on it. You know what I'm saying? They did the same thing to a plant. Let's just say if it was a fluke. They began to talk negatively about one plant. They began to talk positive about one plant. They had the same sunlight. They got the same water. And come to find out in due time, one plant that they spoke negatively to was brown. It was short. It wasn't as strong. But the plant that they spoke amazing and passionate things to, it was tall. It was green. It was bigger. It was flourishing. Yo, Keith, what's your point? If we can speak over rice, if we can speak over a plant, and it can change by the authority that we use in our voice, the authority that we have from the access of who we're connected to, why can't we use that same thing into situations in the life and the households that we live in? There's power that comes with our words. You know, like I began to think about this royal priesthood kind of a situation, and so here's what I found out is that in this day and age we have a royal priesthood seems to have bad branding in this day and age. We don't understand or we don't know what the real royal priesthood and what the fake royal priesthood looks like. We have bad representation. You know, we follow people, we admire people who are ticking time bombs in their own life. You know, and so I think about this royal priesthood kind of thing, and I realized that Jesus was the best example of what it took and what royal priesthood looked like. And what I realized about Jesus and about how he lived his life and how we're supposed to follow him is that one of the things is that he didn't think like everybody else. He said things that no one else heard of. He said things that were so crazy that people thought that he was crazy and no one believed what he said. You know, and the reason why he did that is because, listen, he tried to show people, like, listen, when it comes to being royal, we don't think and we don't move the same as the basic people. You know, I found out that people who are royal, people who are chosen, they walk differently. I found out that they talk differently. I found out that they love differently. I found out that they respond differently. I even found they smell different. You know, they smell different. I found out that they play the game of life in a different way. They play the game of life in a different speed. You know, and just that, like, their power in itself is different. And you know, when I think about this royal priesthood, right, is what I found out is that, listen, royalty is something that was inherited. You know, if you were a king or a queen, the only way you will become a king or a queen yourself is if you were born in the line. You know, and then, like, when I think about the priest was someone who had access to the holy places that no one else could go. You know, and I began to apply that. Like, the best way to explain that is when I look at my own life. I mean, if you don't know, I'm a pastor's kid. And I loved being a pastor's kid growing up because what I found out is that it gave me access and authority. Look, what I mean by that is that there was no room that I could not go into. Like there was no such thing as a locked door. When I saw "Do Not Enter" signs, I did the complete opposite. I entered them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the door was locked, I could be able to ask, like, can you open this door? And no one would ask me any questions. You know what I'm saying? It's because I had access, because I knew who I was connected to. So check this out, right? So I realized when it comes to my access and my authority, I also had a privilege to low-key at the time make, like, little small decisions. You know, like just not like big decisions. Like, hey Keith, like, where do you think we should put this chair? I think we should put it over there. Like, those kind of little authoritative decisions that they gave me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? But this is what he told me. This is what God told me. He said, listen, when you know who you are and you know where you come from, and the fact that you're accepted by the King and that it gives you authority and it gives you access. Listen, the royalty, the access part. The priestly access, that's actually not for you. That's for other people. You know, Keith, what are you talking about? Like people couldn't, if they couldn't get to my dad, they'd get to go to me first. You know, so I was able to be a vehicle. I was able to be the mediator between the person who wanted to see my dad to the person to my dad and himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when it comes to this royalty, this royal priesthood that we are called to be, that we have to understand is that we have the access to go to God on someone else's behalf. Okay? That's for them. That's not for us. But what I love is that the authority is actually, that's what's for us. You know what I'm saying? The authority, it gives us access to do things and make decisions and make play calls for different situations that we have no longer able to at one point that we were not able to do at one point in time. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that we have the authority to say things and speak things as we want them to be and not as they are, that's the kind of power that we have in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, like my dad, check this out, this is very interesting. My dad, he always had a fetish for two animals. He had a fetish for horses and eagles, no pun intended. Yeah, no pun intended. Right. So but I began to look at this whole thing about this eagle situation, like, why is my dad so hyped about some eagles? You know what I'm saying? It's a bird. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's a bird. And what I found out is that the eagle flies higher than any kind of bird. The eagle can fly up to, I believe, 5.5 miles in the air. That's actually higher than some planes. You know, I found out that eagles can fly up to speeds up to 200 miles per hour. You know, I found out that eagles can actually, at the height of the speed, they can focus on two different targets at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I realized that what separates an eagle from everybody else is that when I look at other birds, when a storm comes, they go in their nest. Eagles, they fly into the storm. You know, it's something different about an eagle that separates them from another bird. You know, I realized that even when I go to the zoo, I've never seen an eagle chilling with a flamingo. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen an eagle just chilling with some pigeons. You know what I'm saying? And so what I realized is that when it comes to myself and when it comes to us as a chosen people, why do we choose to chill with pigeons when we're meant to be eagles? You know, it's like we want to be pigeons so bad. Because the thing about it is there's more pigeons than there is eagles. But the beauty thing about it is that when we fly with the eagles, we can do more together than by ourselves. You know, and when we stick together, and what Peter is telling here in this passage says, listen, remember who you are, not just as individual people, but as a unit, as a core, as a family in Christ, because when we stick together, that's when true change starts to happen. So we're supposed to be together with one another. We're not supposed to be isolated by ourselves. No. We're supposed to be in the world. We're just not of the world. You know what I'm saying? And so when we get together and we come in the world, we provoke change and we accept the people who we were once like. And we begin to cultivate them as eagles as we're supposed to be.